When 2024 kicked off, I had two gaming goals in mind. Number one, play more of my backlog in what was set to be a lighter year for new releases than 2023. And number two, finish more of those games. At the time of writing, I've completed 20 games through the first 6 months of 2024, a pace that I was honestly surprised I was able to achieve. Bolstered by titles varying in length, genre, and console, I think was able to truly power through even some of the more mediocre games due to the overall diversity in what was on offer. So let's dive into those 20 games. What are they? Did I enjoy them? And what would I mark as my game of the year thus far? January was a big start to the year as I finished 6 total games. The first game I completed in 2024 was Trigger Witch. This is a twin-stick shooter puzzler akin to an old-school Zelda game, but with some wacky dialogue and story elements thrown in, especially as you reach the last third or so of the game. This is actually the first of 2 games I've played this year from developer Rainbite, and is definitely the better of the 2. I do recommend Trigger Witch and would give it a score of about an 8.5 out of 10. Number 2 for the year was Super Mario RPG. This game oozes charm from every level and character interaction. This remake is gorgeous and definitely worth your time on the Nintendo Switch. There are a few frustrating points where levels really show their age in terms of design, but those hiccups aside, this is a stellar experience, and I gave Super Mario RPG an 8 out of 10. In truth, I only bought Tokyo School Life because its physical copy, exclusive to Video Games Plus, went on sale for $11 last Black Friday, but I do wish I could have used that money elsewhere now. There is sincerely nothing special about this game. The story is entry-level visual novel fare and is just not interesting enough for me to have wanted to dive back in to make different choices in the story beyond my first short playthrough. For me, Tokyo School Life is a 5 out of 10. I really wanted Ubisoft to knock Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora out of the park. It is the most visually impressive open-world game I've played on 9th generation consoles to this point, but the game does absolutely fall victim to the classic Ubisoft open-world checklist quest fatigue. Worse so, about 2/3 of the way through the game, I encountered a near game-breaking glitch where on a linear story mission section, all enemies could suddenly sense and shoot me through multiple walls. It literally took me an hour plus to get through a couple of hallways because every enemy in 4 separate rooms would be shooting me for full damage regardless of whether I was in cover or not. I can't recommend you play this game until I'm fully aware issues like these have been patched. I was eventually able to finish the game, but my experience was severely diminished due to this bug. Reverie's Sweet As Edition is the aforementioned second title from developer Rainbite I played this year, and oh boy, it's not great. This is a story of New Zealand folklore, which could have been interesting, but the overall gameplay and level design was just boring me to death. I really only pushed through it due to the overall short length of the game. I wouldn't recommend giving this one your time, especially when compared to Trigger Witch. The final game I completed in January was Jedi Fallen Order. I had tried to play Jedi Fallen Order multiple times in the past, but never got it to fully click with my mood at the time. But after playing and enjoying Elden Ring in 2022, and being in the right mindset for a Souls-like combat mixed with some Uncharted puzzle solving and a climber-type game, if that's even a thing, this title finally hit all the right notes for me. It's not perfect, but it is a great game, whether you're a fan of Star Wars or not. Now it'll just be another 5 years before I'm mentally ready to play Jedi Survivor. Moving on to February, I played and quote-unquote beat 3 total games, but I'll put an asterisk on 1 and you'll understand why when I get to it. Number 7 this year is Immortals of Aveum. I really do think that Immortals of Aveum could have been a hit if it was priced at around the $40 to $50 range and was about 10 hours in length instead of the 18 to 20 that it ended up at. This game essentially killed its entire studio, and it's a real shame because there's a competent and unique first-person shooter underneath the EA marketing and terrible millennial writing. It has been recently free on PS Plus, offered on Game Pass, and constantly goes on sale for about $20 to $35 now. It's about worth a try at that price and is a fantastic palate cleanser game, if nothing else. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Number 8 on the year is Helldivers 2. And I was 100% that person in my friends group telling everyone that Helldivers 2 was going to be amazing months before launch. Take my word for it. Everything about it screamed under the radar banger. I was wrong though, because it's now one of the best, if not best selling games of 2024 thus far. Helldivers 2 can never really be completed as it is a live service game, but after I logged 65 hours in the span of a month into this title, I think I can call that as complete as I will personally ever be able to. I strongly recommend giving Helldivers 2 a shot if you haven't already, especially if you have a group of friends to dive with. Minecraft Dungeons is a simple Diablo clone with a Minecraft coat of paint, but it accomplished something no other game I completed this year managed to. It got my fiance to play on the PS5 alongside me. She'll often watch me play games as she reads on her Kindle, but she was interested in this one from the start, and for that alone, I have to recommend it for anyone looking for something casual to play with their partner. Nothing here is overtly complex, and the story is really just background noise, but again, this is just plain serviceable fun. March was where things really started to slow down for me, all thanks to one major release at the tail end of February that I just couldn't seem to complete. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is gorgeous, with engaging combat and a great, albeit slightly confusing story. Unfortunately, what has stuck with me long after its completion is its horrendous stealth missions and possibly the most bloated and pointless open world that I have played this year. I didn't think Square Enix could out Ubisoft at the activate this tower type of gameplay, but they definitely did. In the latter half of this game, once I hit about the 35 to 40 hour mark, I had to simply start avoiding anything but the main quest in order to complete the game. There is so much unnecessary filler here, it's overwhelming. Worse still, some of that filler, like stealth missions, are so poorly designed they almost made me quit the game entirely. I do want to be clear though. The core story and select side missions make this game worth your effort. I truly wish the game had less content so more time and attention could be focused on what makes this game magical. Its story, music, and characters. I gave Final Fantasy VII Rebirth an 8 out of 10, but with the disclaimer to avoid side filler content, especially in the copy and pasted open world sections. I really needed a brain-numbing rest after Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a visual novel where you run a frozen ice shop and a portal to another dimension opens up in your bedroom, fit the bill nicely. This game isn't going to win any writing accolades, but it served its purpose for me as just some dumb fun. There's a ridiculous story, the smallest sprinkling of fan service, and it's only about 7 hours to beat. I gave Miracle Snack Shop a 6.5 out of 10. April was my slump month. I only completed one game because I was busy buying and playing a bunch of Xbox 360 physical titles before the marketplace closes down in July of 2024. Call of Duty World at War was the one game that I played and completed in April. This game, even on PS3, still holds up relatively well despite its age. The shooting mechanics still feel crisp, and graphics didn't feel as outdated as I was expecting. What does feel insane is the endless onslaught of enemies that the old COD AI used to feature. Also, the checkpoint system is a bit borked, which I really felt when getting spammed with a billion grenades during certain missions. Overall, in 2024, this campaign is a 6 out of 10. May was when things really kicked back into gear for me. This is the month where I finished 6 games, tied for the most with January, and more importantly, the majority of them were released in 2024. Stellar Blade was my first completion for the month, and cutting through all the controversy and bickering online this title seems to have around it, this is one of the best PS5 exclusives released to date. Combat is challenging but customizable enough to allow for a few different approaches as you encounter boss after boss. Style oozes from both enemy design, character outfits, and animations. There's no microtransactions here either, just the love of the grind to unlock every outfit, soda can collectible, and side area. The story on offer is nothing groundbreaking. As someone yet to play Nier Automata, I've heard this plot offered up as a poor man's Nier, but Stellar Blade felt much more than a copy of anything to me. I truly enjoyed my time with this one, and it was one of the few games that gave enough reason to immediately jump into a New Game Plus upon first playthrough completion. Stellar Blade is an 8.5 out of 10. Sandland released the same week as Stellar Blade and is a video game adaptation of the anime of the same name. I am not an avid anime watcher, but the art style and vehicle combat in the trailers really drew me in to give this one a chance, and I'm super happy that I did. There are sections where grinding for machine parts and stealth sections for certain missions become a bit tedious, but aside from those shortcomings, the story here is really solid and the vehicle handling is really great. It would need to be, considering that you're in the car, tank, giant mech, or hovercraft that you're piloting about 85% of the time. I feel like this game flew under the radar, but I do hope more people are willing to give it a chance with it going on sale more often. I gave Sandland a 7 out of 10. In full transparency, the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood is 100% my kind of game. Narrative focused, decision based, and highly tailored to your choices while still being digestible at under 7 hours on my first playthrough, it already had a lot going for it. But damn if my expectations weren't blown away when playing this one. The art style on offer is absolutely entrancing, especially the crafting of your own tarot cards, which can be really addicting in itself. The writing here is witty and truly makes you care for the characters and the choices you're forced to make. I won't spoil anything here, but I'll just ask that you play this one as soon as you can. If it was released in 2024, it would be a considerably strong contender for my game of the year thus far. It has my strong recommendation at a 9 out of 10. So how do I follow up an unforgettable experience in the Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood? By playing a slightly unfinished Call of Duty clone in XDefiant. In all seriousness, I've quite enjoyed my time with XDefiant. Balancing of the core weapons does feel like there was some serious consideration given to it, even if it wasn't perfect. I do wish that the agents were more impactful. With the lack of kill streaks or true power-ups, the long charge time and underwhelming impact of ultimate activations does dampen my eagerness to replay matches, as the reward loop just isn't as strong as in other PvP first-person shooters. Still, I think this game has some decent potential. That is, if Ubisoft doesn't cancel it after only a year of being out for underperforming. Right now it's sitting at about a 6.5 out of 10 for me. The Invincible is a narrative walking sim with a sprinkling of puzzle solving and choice-driven decisions that impact how the core story plays out. Unfolding the mystery on offer in this highly stylistic planet exploration was really enjoyable, albeit a little predictable towards the second half of the story. All in all, if this style of game is for you, it's definitely worth a playthrough. It's not breaking any new ground, but it certainly holds up well among recent releases in the genre. I gave it an 8 out of 10. If you're not a fan of South Park, do not play this game. This is not like The Stick of Truth or The Fractured But Whole in that it's a more traditional RPG, but is instead a poorly glued together hack and slash card builder game. The best thing that I could say about it, aside from some funnier quips, is that it is mercifully only 3 hours long. This game is a 4 out of 10. It maybe can be pushed up to a 5 or 6 if you can power through and you really do happen to enjoy the South Park franchise. What follows a whirlwind month in May is a very weird June. Before I purchased Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash, it was described to me as Splatoon with fan service, and I guess if the shoe fits? Beneath the ridiculous story and scenarios is actually a really solid shooter, both through campaign missions and co-op wave modes. I was unable to play through any online multiplayer offerings as the game has been seemingly delisted on PS4, and the online community for an obscure 2017 shooter is minimal, but maybe one day. In all fairness, I still give it about an 8 out of 10 for what is regularly available if you were to buy it today. My most recent completed title, the final completion of June, and this half of the year overall, is also currently my front runner for Game of the Year. Unicorn Overlord has it all: an amazing art style, stellar performance even on the Switch, an engaging story, and simply put, some of the best strategy RPG mechanics I've ever had the pleasure of playing. Through 42 hours, I could not put this game down. Playing late into the night and morning just to play one more mission, clear one more town for the Liberation Army. The rapport system really connects you to the characters, and the tavern scenes with the food animations were just another awesome inclusion to see. The only negative I can mention is the final boss. Some unexplained equipment properties really hampered me from having the ultimate conclusion that I did desire, but it still couldn't diminish my overall praise for this title. If I had to score it, I would give Unicorn Overlord a 9.5 out of 10. And with that, we've reached the halfway point of 2024 and the first 20 games that I've finished this year. Have you played any of these titles? Do you agree or disagree with any of my sentiments? What's been the best game that you've played this year? Please let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. It really does help the video reach others who may be interested in this type of content. And subscribe if you'd like to hear more ramblings about the next 6 months of games that I venture to try. Thank you, and take care.